Hey everybody, my name is Alec, people call me Tweak. I am making this video for Iowa State Airsoft. This is an instructional video on what a gearbox does in an airsoft gun. It's not, how to fix an airsoft gun, it's not, how to replace or shim a gearbox. It's just simply what a gearbox does and how it works. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. This is an M4 gearbox. It is beaten to hell. I have not used this myself. It's just kind of a junk one I have laying around that I can use for you guys. But I can go ahead and tell you what this is right here. So this is a version 2 gearbox. It's for an M4 or M16 platform. These cables right here will go down to a motor. Alright, as you can see, you have a motor connection right here on this one. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but I can show you that right there. So that basically goes into the bottom right here, and then the motor will have a little pinion gear that sticks in the bottom right here and turns some gears inside. So this is actually just a shell. All the parts aren't even here, but I can use it to explain to you guys what it does. So this is a cylinder, right? This is basically going to hold the air that's shot down into the barrel, and I can open it up and show you guys. So I'm going to do that here. There's screws all on the outsides. Just know there will probably be more videos, so if you guys already know the basics, you might just want to go ahead and skip this one. Sorry for being so late too, by the way. I couldn't work on airsoft guns in my old apartment, so just moved into this one. Alright, so here is the gearbox. Just want to make sure you guys can see that, alright? And now I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. I'm going to set the camera down for this though. Alright, so this spring has tension in it right here. This little black spring, or black spring guidance spring. So what I'm going to do is to stop that from just popping out entirely, I'm going to hold this down with my finger right here and then pull the gearbox off. I'm going to keep my finger on it as much as I can as I lift the gearbox up and away. So you can see I'm still holding that spring down, right? And this is, most of the inside of a gearbox. I'm actually missing 2 gears right here and a shimmer too, but everything that's really necessary is there. So if you see I let go of this, the spring's going to pop out. So I don't want that to happen. It's really annoying. So now that you guys can see this, I'm trying to hold this. I want to go ahead and pop up the spring. Be really tight with it though. Alright. Now that's up. So here's the spring guide. This has bearings on it that make sure that the spring, when it's going back and forth, a million times a second, does not have tension in it. It'll stop it from binding up by twisting and twisting and twisting to the point where it can't actually operate anymore. So the spring guide has bearings on it that allow the spring to twist freely inside here, as you can see. Alright, so now that spring, we're going to pull it out of here. This is like an M120, which should give me about 400 FPS with a good setup. Sorry if I'm messing with the camera a little bit. I'm trying to hold it. I don't actually have a tripod for this thing, so if that's too much for you, let me know. I'll see if I can make a new video. Alright, with that being said, so here we have a cylinder, and inside the cylinder will be our piston, and attached to the piston is a piston head. The piston head is usually ported to allow air to go one direction, but not the other. Now what happens is, the piston is pulled back by the sector gear right here, right? And then air fills in this little port, and then when the sector gear gets past its last tooth right there, I hope you can see that. That last tooth finally gets past. This piston will shoot forward, compressing the air in here and shooting it out the tip right here. Now this right here, I'll start pulling out the cylinder. Sorry. Alright, so the cylinder right here is attached to the cylinder head. Now this one is Teflon taped so I can get some better air seal. And that's got to be really tight in there. So here's the cylinder. It's literally just, you know, a small metal tube. And then on top of that you have the cylinder head. And this basically just allows a little port for the air to compress through to get to the air nozzle. Now air nozzles in gearboxes are all different lengths. This happens to be an M4 length air nozzle. Every gun is unique, every gun is different, so this is not something that's interchangeable between the gearboxes. Alright, now this is your tappet plate. Your tappet plate right here will hold the air nozzle. I'm trying to do this one-handed. Alright, well this air nozzle will fit right in the little grooves of this tappet plate. The tappet plate basically moves back and forth, allowing the BB to load into the chamber before the air is shot at it. And that's controlled by this little clip on the sector gear right here. You'll see this little tiny chip right there. And that will move the tappet plate back as it spins around. And that brings the air nozzle back to allow the BB to load in the chamber. Alright, so now we go on to our gears. I'm actually missing two right here, as you probably have noticed. I just don't have any extras right now. They're all in my guns. I don't feel like taking those apart because they're pretty well set up as we speak. So the gears, basically the motor will come right here and stick its little pinion gear through here. And that will turn your first gear, which will then go to your second gear right here, which will then go to your third gear right here. And the order of these are bevel, the bevel gear, then the spur gear, and then the sector gear. The motor has one also called the pinion gear, and that will start the whole operation going. Now these ratios of the gears can be changed depending on how much torque or how much speed your motor has. Different gear setups are used for higher FPS, so higher speeds of the BB going through there with more air pressure for heavier weight springs. Or if you just want to go a lot faster, if you want to shoot 45 rounds a second, that's possible. It's just tentative to break. Now this right here, this little piece, is every airsoft tech's nightmare. This is called an anti-reversal latch, and it pops out all the time. It is the worst trying to put a gearbox together when this anti-reversal latch is popping out at you. It's something you just gotta work at. It takes some time to get used to. You gotta hold it in there, and hopefully it goes back on for you. So moving on, these are your wires. These wires will go down to the motor. We talked about these earlier, and these will go to the positive and negative connections of your motor. Usually you'll color code those. I just have a little black tip on this one. It's not actually being used though, so should be alright for now. Here is your trigger. These can be interchanged. You can get new triggers. I mean, all the parts in a gearbox, you can always get new pieces of upgrades, better compression to get more air seal in there. That way you get a better pop when your air is actually going to push the BB down the barrel. That way you can get higher accuracy or FPS, whatever you want. Usually higher accuracy is more with consistency of your air seal. You want to have the same amount of air go through the chamber every time, and that will allow you to get better accuracy with your gun. So right here you can see a big issue that people usually have, and that's that the trigger contacts are starting to wear, and that's because of arcing between here, right? So you have a battery, with anywhere between 7.2 to 14.1 voltage, depending on what type you are using, between an IMH, which is nickel metal hydrate, nickel cadmium, NiCad, or a lithium ion, lithium polymer, LiPo. So lithium ions are not very common though. So between those, the way the triggers are set up is that you can have arcing right here. When you pull this trigger, it gets so close that a little spark will jump in between them. And that's what's going to deteriorate the trigger contacts over time. And maybe in a later video I'll talk about that, because you can use things like MOSFETs to get rid of those arcing, for that arcing. Alright, so here we have our safety lever. This safety lever right here is actually moved by the tappet plate in back, or the selector plate in back, and the cutoff lever. These stop the trigger from being able to press down. So this basically goes and moves up to block the path of the trigger when it's pulled. Let's see if I can pull this trigger. Here we go. So you see that the trigger moves forward, and this will basically just go and block that path for you. Okay, so those are the basics of the gearbox. if there's any questions you guys have, feel free to let me know. Again, this video was made for Iowa State Airsoft. We're always looking for more people. We go to games all the time. It's actually pretty fun. There's a game just about every weekend if you guys choose to. It's at Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa. So if you guys have any more requests, anything you want to know, feel free to contact me or any other officer of the club, and they'll be sure to help you. Thanks. See you guys.